I truly appreciate you guys taking the time out to spend time to get to know your body differently, to recognize that things showing up for us physically, physiologically in our bodies or emotionally is a sign for us to check in and to tune in to what our bodies are trying to tell us. I'm Meg Linton and I'm the author of the book Watch Your Language, a book designed to help us shift the dialogue of our words to ourselves from judgment and comparison to acceptance and self-compassion. Compassion is the most powerful thing that we can do, not only for ourselves, but also for others. So when we can meet our bodies with compassion, as in looking at the things that show up for us, as I said, physically or internally, or even emotionally, with a sense of compassion and a gentle understanding, we can then approach our bodies with the question why. This is a video about the polyvagal theory, our autonomic nervous system, and the connection of the body-brain connection. Our bodies come first. Remember, our bodies are always listening to us, right? It is only us who cue our bodies to open or close based on any given environment. Now, most of us, including myself, have been trained or conditioned for so many years to be reactive. We get trained to be busy. We get trained to judge ourselves. We get trained to criticize. We get trained to be workaholics. We get trained to become rigid, tense, and stuck because our environment, for many of us, moves so quickly in this Western world. We coach our bodies to be on all the time, to be reactive, not responsive, and that then creates internal chaos with our digestive system, our breathing, and of course leads us to inflammation, sickness, and dis-ease. If we are experiencing something physically in our bodies and something might not be healing, we might be experiencing a lot of bloating, a skin breakout, things going on with our eyes, our ears, our nose, our throat, and our chest, or maybe it's in our hips and our lower back. It's actually your body trying to communicate with you. And that's what I hope to get across in this short little video with you. Now, over on my website, megspace.com.au, I run often, every 2 months or so, a nervous system reset workshop. It's 4 weeks with me online to get to know your body from the inside out. I share the teachings of Dr. Stephen Porges's The Polyvagal Theory, and I deliver these teachings through some of the methods shared by the incredible author and polyvagal theorist, Deb Dana, who really helps us befriend our nervous system. For many of us, have been taught that when we have something show up in our body, that we need to fix it. We need to take a tablet. We need to drink a cup of coffee. We need to put a Band-Aid on it, right? We look for an external solution to try to fix something internally that's happening within our bodies. And over this time I get to spend with you, I'm going to invite you to see if you can see what shows up in your body as an invitation to tune in. And maybe we take a different approach. So the reason that this stuff resonates with me so much, and I share a little deeper in my book, Watch Your Language, is I spent about 25 years moving through an eating disorder. I had bulimia, I went through anorexia, I also moved through a clean eating disorder. I really struggled to have a good relationship with food for so many years. And what I didn't realize is that I was creating so much tension within my fascia and my connective tissue by the thoughts that I was thinking about food. It created havoc in my digestive system. I was constantly bloated, and every time that I thought of food, my body would rigid and tight and everything would close. What I didn't understand was how this affected my nervous system, and of course, everything else that unfolded that I experienced on the outside as well. Not one person through the medical industry in my time with an eating disorder, and this just being my experience, told me to look at my nervous system and to help regulate my nervous system back to safety, where I could then change how I saw my body. I had to take tablet after tablet, medication after medication. I was force-fed, and all of that was creating more and more tension inside of my body. So over 25 years, I learned to be a very tense, rigid, and really uptight person who had developed really strong upper traps muscles. I had a really tight neck or SCM muscle, and I experienced a lot of pain in my lower back because my body was constantly on or had collapsed down into freeze. At the age of 32, 33, I was lucky enough to experience the teachings of Dr. Stephen Porges and the polyvagal theory, alongside with Dr. Joe Dispenza and his work around neuroplasticity. Reading those books and diving into that research, I started to finally understand how I had been seeing my body through the eyes of pain and discomfort and judgment and criticism, all being my choice, but how that actually affected the physiology of my body, my digestion, inflammation, and what I was experiencing. So I'm 43 now, and over that time, I've had to learn a new way of thinking. And if we've been experiencing things in our body for a long time, whatever it might be, whether it be a gut disorder, whether it's something to do with our digestive system, whether it be inflammation somewhere, or it could be something completely different, I invite you to potentially listen to what I'm sharing here. Not take my word for it, but dive in yourself about the potential of seeing your body differently and how we can create a more open space in our bodies so that we can actually help our bodies return back to a safe space in our nervous system so that we can heal, right? In this video, it's a conversation about what happens in our body when we cue our body into tension. I call it stress, right? Or busyness. And what happens when we also cue our body into overwhelm or exhaustion. Now, they're very, very different in the body. They look, feel, and sound a completely different way for each and every single one of us. And I want you to understand and potentially write down what these three states look like for you. So just briefly, and I go into this much more on my nervous system reset course, I'm going to describe to you the basic understandings of the polyvagal theory, again, that was discovered by Dr. Stephen Porges, and how it kind of works for us to gain an understanding of how we can bring our nervous system back to balance, right? For many of us, we got taught a little bit about the nervous system potentially when we were in school. And for most of us, we learn to understand that we have our parasympathetic system and we also have our sympathetic system, okay? We have our fight, flight, and potentially freeze. And we also have our rest and digest. Now, in the polyvagal theory, Dr. Stephen Porges discovered that our parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, right, actually has two branches, right? So in my course, I draw some diagrams here, but I want you to visualize a ladder, okay? Now, at the top of the ladder, we have our safety state or social engagement, known as our ventral vagal state. Okay, this is at the top of the ladder. This is where we need to return to, where we feel present, regulated, safe, and where we can socially engage with people. And this is the only place that our body can actually heal, and we have access to our prefrontal cortex. Now at the bottom of the ladder, okay, we have our dorsal vagal system, okay, so ventral vagal, dorsal vagal, both ends of the ladder, right? And in our dorsal vagal state, it is actually our freeze state, okay? This is dissociated. We feel numb, we are disconnected, we are overwhelmed, and we are exhausted, okay? Both of these states are part of the parasympathetic branch of the nervous system, okay? They are both states that are immobilized, okay? They're immobilized, as in the body is not on, it is not in tension, but one is immobilized in fear and one is immobilized in safety. That's really important to understand, okay? They are very, very different, but the body is not in tension, okay? So let me demonstrate what they both look like, all right? If I'm in my dorsal vagal state, for example, right, my body is actually going to look like this. It's going to feel closed. I might be curled up into a corner. I might be curled up into bed. I might be curled up on the couch and just scrolling on my phone, like aimlessly, not really taking it in. I might be walking in a shopping centre, my eyes are down, I'm not making eye contact with anyone, and I'm actually walking quite slow. You can see physically here that my armour is on and protected. I'm actually protecting my heart. My hips are probably rolled inwards because, again, I'm protecting my genitals, and we'll talk about that a little bit deeper in the nervous system course. But I don't want to connect and communicate. I've lost the ability here to be present in the moment, and I'm just going through the motions. Okay, the body is fully closed here, and as I said, that is our dorsal vagal state, known as freeze. Now, if I look at the top of the ladder, right, and I look at our ventral vagal state, which is known as socially engaged, it's going to look completely different. Right, you're going to see a body that is open and presentable. My shoulders are going to be back and down, and I'm going to have a really nice gap between my ear and my shoulder here. All right, my shoulders are back, my heart is open, my hips are open here. There's no need for the psoas muscle to grip on and protect, because I'm telling my body that I'm not under threat. I might be walking a little bit slower, right? I'll be making eye contact with humans. I likely probably won't be on my phone. I'll be enjoying what kind of day it is. I'll be able to see things with gratitude. I'll be able to see my body with acceptance, and I'll feel relaxed and at ease and be present in the moment. Now, you can see how both of those states look quite different, right? But they're at the top and then the bottom of the ladder. Okay, that's really, really important to understand. And again, in my course, I do dive into that a fair bit deeper, so we can really understand, again, what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like in those states and what your body does. Now, in the middle of the ladder, okay, so we've discussed the top and the bottom. We have our ventral vagal at the top, which is home. That's where we need to return to. We don't live there, life happens, and it bumps us out of this state, right? But our job is to notice when we're bumped and crawl our way back to being home, being present. I also discussed what happens at the bottom of the ladder. This is like when you don't plug your phone in and you're sitting on about like 3%. This is what we feel like. We've got zero energy. We are shut down. We actually can't communicate. We are going to fall into a sense of blame, shame, or guilt, right? And we are going to feel unworthy. We are going to feel quite dark, and we're going to feel completely disconnected. And that is going to show a certain way in our body, okay? So in the middle of the ladder, okay, as I said, this is called the autonomic hierarchy, okay? It's really important to understand this. In the middle of the ladder, we have what's called our spinal sympathetic part of our nervous system. Now, most of us know this part of the nervous system really, really well, okay? I mentioned before about my history. Now, I spent many, many years living here in tension, okay? My shoulders were up around my ears, and I developed some really big upper trapezius muscles because I was constantly on. I call this the armor, okay? So our armor comes on when we cue our body that there is a threat, okay? So you can just see here what happens here. What you'll also find is the breathing will move up into the chest and the shoulders. People will be mouth breathing, and you can see how this elevates my shoulders, right? This state is called our spinal sympathetic part of the nervous system, otherwise known as fight flight, okay? Now, I know that you guys know this state really well, like what I did. This is a mobilized state, okay? As our other states were immobilized. Remember, dorsal is immobilized with fear, and ventral is immobilized in safety. In the middle, we have our spinal sympathetic, known as fight flight, mobilized. We mobilize, we're on to fight or flee from the so-called threat. Now, most of the time in given environment, we do not need to put our armor on. But if you think about it, if you haven't slept very well, right, and you wake up and you jump on your phone, right, and you scroll through content that doesn't make you feel very good, you then go look in the mirror at yourself and you might judge or compare to what you might have seen. You might come out and spill your coffee and get frustrated. The kids are running late and not ready on time, which means that you're now going to get stuck in traffic. And when you get stuck in traffic, you get a phone call from your boss telling you that you're going to have a meeting that you didn't know about, right? You can probably feel what's going on here. Your body is actually starting to become tense and rigid and reactive. Somebody pulls in front of you and you give them the bird and you make that about you. That has nothing to do with you. That's because your body is already under threat, under tension. You have cued your body into tension with your choices, right? We have to understand that this state is a state that is reserved as an emergency state, okay? It is a state reserved when we really are under threat and we need to fight or flee for our lives, right? But again, most of us, myself included, not so long ago, would be living in this state chronically. And this is what I'm here to talk to you about. This is not about going in and out of this state, right? This is about if we are constantly doing the things that is really bumping our nervous system consistently. So as I mentioned before, maybe we're not moving our bodies. Maybe we're not getting 8 hours sleep a night. Maybe we're not eating food that is, not full of chemicals and preservatives, right? And same thing with meat and dairy products and eggs that are not from organic farms. We are going to find that our bodies are going to be under a little bit of chaos from that, right? We need basic things in order to survive, okay? That is movement, regulated breathing, as in belly breathing. We need to have our shelter, our home environment feeling safe and nurturing, right? We need to have nurturing and safe relationships, okay? We also need to have sunlight. We need to get outside in nature, all right? The basic things that are needed for us to stay regulated, okay? As if any of that has left us, we're not sleeping well, we're not moving well, we're not eating well, then I guarantee it, your nervous system is going to feel pretty whacked. And this is how we start to fall into a chronic state of fight flight, okay? It's really, really important to understand that, once again, our bodies and our nervous systems are these incredible tools designed to protect us when there is a threat, but we cannot live in a chronic state of tension, right? Otherwise, what is going to happen is we are going to burn out, okay? Our poor liver is going to be under constant pressure. I remember our liver is our detoxing organ, okay? It is the master organ in Chinese medicine, and it is designed to clear out toxicity or armor from our system. Now, if we are under tension like this, I guarantee you your liver is not going to be doing the job that the liver is designed to do, okay? And this is what I'm here to talk to you about today. And if we are constantly here, then our liver is going to throw its hands up in the air and go, I am too tired of this. You are constantly keeping me in tension and stress and telling me that there is a tiger when all you're doing is getting stressed over your emails, getting stuck in traffic, people cutting you off, the kids are running late. You've just got a notification on your phone or your device that has triggered you or thrown you, or you have lost your keys in your handbag, okay? All of that stuff is actually cueing your body into tension. Now, if you're doing that 150 times a day, then again, your internal landscape, as in all of your organs and digestive system, are not going to be able to do what they are designed to do, and I'll talk about that in a moment, right? So for many of us, tend to live in this chronic state of stress or spinal sympathetic that looks and feels like this. Again, you see it with, unfortunately, kids holding their phone, right? Their traps will be up, they're holding their phone, they're tense, and you might tell them to get off their phone and they snap at you, okay? It might be somebody working late, same thing, get off the computer and they snap at you. Again, we've become reactive. We've got our armor on, we're ready to fight. The body is mobilized, okay? So that's a really brief understanding of the autonomic hierarchy, right? And the polyvagal ladder, okay? Let's just recap that. Think about a ladder, right? At the bottom of the ladder, we have our dorsal vagal state. I call that our red zone. Okay, think about running on 3%. You're curled up on the couch, you're exhausted, right? Your dialogue might be that along the lines of, I am unworthy or I am not enough. The world you see is dark, scary, and fearful, right? And if you're an animal, you might be a turtle, okay? You might stick your head in the sand or in your shell and you don't want to talk to anyone. Moving up the ladder a little bit, we move into our spinal sympathetic state. Okay, the dialogue or the self-talk here, right, is maybe that in and around perfection. We will be critical of ourselves. We'll be judgmental of ourselves. We will hold resentment. We will be righteous. You know, you won't let another person be right. It's all yours. You'll fight for that ability to be right. You will find you'll fall into jealousy here. You'll find you will move into doubt, worry, right? And as I said, potentially that resentment or that unforgiveness. Oh, I don't want to forgive that person. They did this, this, and this to me. Feel that in your body. It's frustration. Again, none of these are bad emotions, but this is what you'll feel, that tension towards that, right? The landscape, right, that you will see, the world you'll see here will be fast, busy, and chaotic. And if you were an animal here, right, then you might be like a hyena, right, a seagull. You might be like what have people said in this state, like a snake or a lion or a tiger, just on, ready to go. Some people have also said a meerkat in this state as well, like super hyper vigilant, right? And then we move to the top of the ladder and we of course have our ventral vagal state here, okay? This is where we need to return to. I call this home, okay? So I also call this our green zone. In the middle is our orange zone, okay? So here at home, right, your dialogue or your self-talk will be kind and compassionate and accepting. It's not about being positive, it's being accepting of the scenario as it is. So things could be chaotic and life could be unfolding around you and it could be everything that you don't want it to be, but you're able to be present enough to go, I trust that this is going to be okay. You can see everything that's unfolding, but you become the witness to what you're seeing. You be like, it's okay. I understand that it's a mess out there, but I trust that this is the process that I'm on, right? Your body will be open. You'll feel relaxed, and as I said, you will be kind not only to yourself and to others, okay? The world you see, right, will be like curious, it'll be creative, it will be friendly, it will be open, and it might be joyful, right? As I said, it's up to us what we see, right? And again, if our bodies are living in tension, and trust me, I've been there for 25 years, then what you're going to notice is that your world, right, will be full of people and environments, right, that will really challenge you to fall into judgment or to want to fight that or to resist that. And it's so important to understand that our environment and what we see is a reflection of what our bodies are showing us here. Understanding that will give you a really great tool to recognize when your nervous system tips from safe, ventral, down into spinal sympathetic, or further down the ladder into freeze. It's also important to understand the concept of neuroception. Now, neuroception is a term coined by Dr. Porges to bring the awareness of our nervous system to us. So neuroception means nervous system awareness, right? And he breaks it down by bringing this to our attention of understanding what's happening inside, outside, and in between. Now, inside brings our attention and awareness to the things that are happening inside of our bodies, okay? So think about what's going on with your breathing. Think about what's going on with your heart and your lungs. Think about what's going on with your digestive system. What's going on with your fascia. Now, we've got to remember this, the fascia is like this interconnected web inside of our body, right? And when our bodies go into tension outside, guess what's happening inside? The fascia just grips on. It's like you roll a wrap of cling wrap really, really tight, and that then causes chaos inside of your body if it is like that for too long, right? Think about all these things that happen in our internal landscape, right? And bring your attention to that. And if we notice things internally, it gives us this awareness to go, hang on a second, is there an actual threat? Or what can I do to help my body come back up to safety so the body can relax, right? Outside, what's happening in our environment, right? What's happening with the weather? What's happening with the news? What's happening with the people around us? What's happening in your work environment, right? What's happening in your gym? Are you constantly pushing it at the gym, right? In your environment, you're constantly around busyness. And once again, what is this doing to your body? What does your body do in certain environments? Does your body open or does your body close and become contracted? Does it go into tension or does it relax? And this, I feel, is such a good indication of where our nervous systems are at. Remember, when your body is open, right, you are not under threat and everything in your body is working, okay? And the last part of neuroception is in between, okay? How does your body respond when you are in front of another person, okay? How does that person make you feel? Does your body open? Do you feel safe with them? Do you feel you can be authentic and real and communicate well with them and speak your truth? Or do you feel the need to people please? Do you feel the need to fit in? Do you feel the need to present a certain way? Do you feel the need to perfect? Do you feel insecure around this person and you feel exhausted when you leave them? Again, that is going to give you an indication of how your nervous system responds and if that person is right for you in that moment, right? Lastly, as I wrap up this little segment, we also need to understand the concept of co-regulation. And these are the three things that's needed and necessary to gain a really good roadmap of our body, our brain, and our nervous system. And of course, what we can recognize in our bodies, our self-talk, and our internal landscape, so how we can bring it back to safety. Co-regulation is knowing that we have an anchor, someone or an animal that we can turn to, or a given environment such as the ocean or in nature that we know we can go to when we're feeling unregulated, as in we get bumped in our nervous system and we haven't been able to return back to safety. And we can go there and use this person or animal or place in nature to bring ourselves back to a safe space. For me, I always think about my dog. That always helps me, in any given moments, return back home. If I don't have my dog with me, stepping outside into the sunlight can really help. But also knowing people in my work environment, my home environment, my relationships that I can actually go to and say, hey, I'm really struggling at the moment. I just need to be held. I need to have a hug. I just need to be close to you. Whatever that is that can help co-regulate using another person, your body back to safety, and you will vice versa do that for another person. Let's shift gears a little bit now, and we're going to take a look at the physical body and what actually happens when your nervous system goes into tension, because this stuff is really, really epic, and it's great when we have something we can look at here. Okay, so we're gonna call this guy Bob, because that's what we just came up with, and we have a really cool idea of the human body here, and you know how it's all put together. Now, it's really cool when we look at this, the bones and the joints, and I could talk on this stuff for ages. I love the structure of the body and seeing how it all works in this form, because we forget how fascinating the human body is. And it's, again, our job in what we're doing. Are we cueing our body into tension, right? Or are we cueing our bodies into safety? Now, from the side here, I want to talk about a few things, how we can shift quite quickly from our safe space, which is where he is now. You can see that everything's open. The shoulder capsule is actually open, right? The hips, right, again, are open here. We have the femur bones displayed, we've got hip torque. The body is relaxed and at ease. He's got nice distance, boy, he's got no muscular tension here, of course, from head and shoulders, but you can see from the side that the body is open, the head is up, and we are in our ventral state. Let's just say that Bob hasn't slept very well. Let's say that Bob has just spent, 5 to 6 hours a day on social media for the past couple of weeks. Let's just say that Bob has 50 million emails in his inbox. Let's just say that Bob has eaten really shitty food for, again, the last 4 weeks or so because he's been quite stressed at work. Let's just say that Bob is struggling in his relationship at the moment and constantly reactive with his partner. So Bob wakes up in the morning after drinking maybe, 2 to 4 beers every single night, and he checks his phone and he sees his emails come through, right? You'll straight away see that Bob's shoulders are going to come up around his ears like this. He might be lying in bed and his breathing's going to come up into his chest, okay? And as I mentioned before, chest breathing, if you can see it here, we are not mouth breathers, we are nose breathers, and if we are chest breathing, we are sending our nervous system into tension. So Bob has just gone from relaxed into tense, and he goes into his day at 7 a.m. like this. Not only has this happened, right, but he's going to get really tight in his hips, because this area here, right, into the hip flexor and the psoas muscles, it's actually going to close. And then what happens is Bob goes and sits in a car and then a chair at work, and he closes his hips, okay? He gets on a computer, his shoulders round, and he's up like this with his legs up here for nearly 8 hours a day. And that's not even counting being on phones, okay? Through his day, he has conversations that make him tense, right? He might again receive a phone call that frustrates him, and it's not his fault, so to speak. Bob remains in tension the whole time through his day. He is living in a spinal sympathetic or a chronic state of stress, keeping his cortisol levels really, really high. And this is going to elevate his heart rate, his blood pressure, and adrenaline. Right? Poor Bob is going to struggle with his digestion. He's also not going to move into any fat burning here, because why? His body believes he's being chased by a tiger. All of the things that are happening in his day are not life-threatening, but he has cued his body into tension, like telling his nervous system that there is a tiger chasing me. I need to protect myself, protect my heart and my lungs so I don't die, and protect my genitals. This is what happens when our hips close. We get really tight through our lower back because everyone's hip flexors are on and tense. Our hip flexors, this muscle here, our psoas, is also linked into our jaw, okay? Now, all of this area is related to our nervous system. This is our accessory nerve, cranial nerve 11. This also comes on, and we are living in tension. Our body closes to protect the heart and lungs so we don't die, as I mentioned, and of course the genitals so we don't die. Again, we get this very somatic response in our body when we're under stress, okay? So you can see it in this guy here, and it's really fascinating when we can see it in the body, okay? We have to remember that the shoulder is a brachiating joint, right? And then we go spend hours on our phones, okay? What are we teaching our bodies to do when we're on our phones? We are closing our body, okay? Have a look at it. You just have to look at kids at the bus stop. You spend 8 hours a day here like this, guess what your body is going to learn to do? It's going to learn to be in a tense and tight state right? And then when your body can't handle that anymore, it is going to drop down into a state of exhaustion. Everything will fall forward, right? You'll lean forward, you'll walk around like this guy looking like a bit of a zombie, right? Okay, it's super important to also understand that when we sit in chairs consistently, look what you're doing with your hip joint. Now the hip joint is actually a ball and socket joint, okay? So it is a really nice rotating joint. But for all of us, most of us, we are sitting like this for another 8 hours a day, okay? Guess what that is going to do to our body? It is going to get really tight through the hip flexors, and we are training our bodies to close. We get tight hamstrings, tight quadriceps, really angry lower backs, because we are training our body. Remember, everything we do in our 24 hours, we are coaching our body, right? If we're doing that all the time, your body is going to learn to live in a state of tension or learn to live in a place of overwhelm. And that's where I spent nearly 25 years of my life, moving between those two states. I did not know what it was like to return my body back to safety, right? So when you can look at like a skeleton version of the body, it's so interesting and fascinating to put that together, to know that we're the only ones who can help our bodies relearn a new program, okay? And this is what this stuff is all about. Lastly, for this shorter video, I want to give you guys some tools that will be very different to your husband, to your daughter, your son, your partner, as to what actually happens in your body when you shift from ventral, safety, looks like this, into spinal sympathetic, looks like this, or down the ladder into dorsal, looks like this. Your body is going to look, sound, and feel a certain way, and you'll turn into some sort of an animal. This is the best part about this work, is really getting to know your body differently, and how we can recognize all of those things so that we can actually cue our body to say, hang on a second, this is just a moment of discomfort, it's not life-threatening, and then we can bring our bodies back to a safe space, because we are the only ones who can do that, okay? So let's have a conversation around the 3 states again. We'll discover what animal we become, we'll discover our landscape, we'll talk about the self-talk, as in the words that we speak, because the words we speak become the house we live in. And we'll also uncover some things that happen physiologically inside and outside of our body when we move into these states. Now, if I had a pen with me, I'd be writing this down, and I'm going to start from the red zone first into dorsal, okay? So when our bodies have shifted into our freeze state, okay, we have to remember that our freeze state is an emergency state, okay? What happens in our freeze state is our blood pressure, our heart rate, our adrenaline and cortisol go down. They plummet. This state is designed for when our bodies cannot fight or flee from a certain experience, right? And our body goes into full protection mode so we don't die, okay? I always liken this to like an accident. So if you are experiencing or witnessing, say, a motorbike rider, for example, coming to a set of lights, right? And the motorbike rider goes through the lights, right? And then it has impact, okay? What goes on in the nervous system in those moments is, say the motorbike rider is in a relaxed state, riding his motorbike rider, the sun's out, he's having a great day. He doesn't pay attention to the lights, and he goes through the lights, and his body goes straight away into fight flight. He recognizes he's through the lights, he's in a spot of danger. He might slam on the brakes here, and he'll do whatever is needed and necessary in that moment to try to survive. Unfortunately, in that moment, there is impact. What happens then is very quickly his nervous system goes from ventral to spinal sympathetic and then down into dorsal. You'll see the motorbike rider lift off the bike and become like flaccid in the air. It's kind of like this softness. The body lets go. As mentioned, blood pressure, heart rate, adrenaline, cortisol go down, right? So when the bike rider hits the ground, his body is able to survive rather than break under tension. It is fascinating what our bodies do. But in saying that, you can also understand why we can't live here. So if we live in this state too long, and I've been there and I've experienced it, we start to feel quite depressive and down in our thoughts. We feel the world is out to get us. We feel unworthy. We don't feel like we're enough. We find it really hard to trust, and we dive right into fear. We feel we can't be ourselves, and we really lack the ability to communicate well. We might then start to experience things in our body that have a physiological effect to living in that state for too long, right? We might experience some quite severe gut disorders here, right? The body will be living in inflammation, which means that our digestive system won't be working properly, right? This could lead to things such as PCOS, endometriosis, fibromyalgia, right? We feel that the body is sore to touch because, again, our muscular density goes down here in this state, right? And there's plenty of other things, of course, that can stem from living in a state of freeze for too long, right? It will also have an effect on the way we speak to ourselves. As mentioned before, the words we speak become the house we live in, okay? If we are living here like what I did, we're going to be really stuck in thoughts that bring us down. You're going to be constantly going forward into the future of fear, doubt, and worry, or going back into the past at what we should have, could have, and would have done. It's really hard to find forgiveness here, to find acceptance, and of course we cannot have self-compassion or gratitude here because our body is in a dark and closed state, right? The animal we might become here might be something like a turtle, as I mentioned before, right? You might also feel like you're a crab. You just want to bury your head in the sand, or an ostrich, okay? Some of my clients and my kids say a sloth. Right? As I said, the world you are going to see, right, is going to be dark, it's going to be scary, and it's going to be exhausting. You are going to constantly be feeling overwhelmed, and you will blame yourself and take on everything on board. What other people say and do becomes your problem, right? Again, this is an emergency state. We have to remember that if we drop into here and we live here as in a chronic state of freeze, our bodies are just simply not going to heal, okay? Let's move up the ladder a little bit here to our spinal sympathetic part of our nervous system, okay? You'll see I'm going from the bottom to the top, and there's a reason for that, all right? Let's have a look at what happens like physiologically in the body when we move into our fight flight. As mentioned, this is an emergency state. So if we go back to the motorbike rider, right, and he goes through the lights and he puts the brakes on, he's right in his emergency state here, fight flight, he's slammed on the brakes, he's in tension, and he stops. He doesn't get hit by the car. Oh. He takes a little while for his nervous system to return back to safety when he recognizes he's alive and he made it and he's okay, and he goes back on his ride. Now, what just happened there is his body, right, instead of the adrenaline and cortisol going down, in this particular state, adrenaline, cortisol, our heart rate, and our blood pressure go up, right? Of course, our body goes into tension. The fascia and the connective tissue grip on really, really, really tight, right, to protect ourselves from the so-called threat. We're ready to fight, we're ready to flee, we're ready to, give it some to whatever the circumstance is. This means that there's no need for our digestive system to work here. There's no need to pee or poop, really, if you are running from a tiger. Also, what happens is your breathing will move up into your chest and into your shoulders. You then cue your armor on, which of course tells your autonomic nervous system that there is a lion, right? What also happens is your body doesn't heal here. Okay, there is absolutely no point or reason for your body to heal when you have just told it that there is a threat in your environment, okay? So as mentioned before, if we are cueing our body into tension over 150 times a day, you're going to find that you're going to struggle with digestive issues. You are going to have inflammation because your body is not excreting what it needs to excrete, right? You're not getting rid of all of the toxicity. Your liver is going to be under a hell of a lot of stress, right? Our liver being the master organ, it is not going to be able to clear out toxicity if you are constantly in tension inside and out. And this is once again going to lean into further issues that are going to happen inside of your body and also present outside, okay? The world you see is going to be chaotic. You are going to find that you will struggle with judgment and criticism. You will think that people are judging you, right? When really it's you judging yourself. You will find that you'll be critical of yourself and be a perfectionist. There will be resentment here. You will also find, as I mentioned before, the need to be right. You will fight for that need to be right if you are here. You will constantly look for the negative in things. So even if the sun is shining, you will find something negative here. Nothing will be good enough for you here. You will be a workaholic. You will always be searching for more in this state, okay? What will happen in your dialogue, right? The words you speak to yourself will be, again, I am so busy all the time, right? I am so stressed. Again, remember, I am is the most powerful phrase we can ever say to ourselves. You are telling your body you are a certain way, right? I'm so tired, right? I'm like I've had enough. Like I've just, I'm so cranky. I'm so frustrated, I'm so pissed off. Our schedule is just bursting at the seams. And we become forgetful. We disconnected from ourselves. We can't concentrate. We can't get our words out. We are constantly on the go, and then we choose certain things to help that. So in our external environment, we might get home and start to have half a bottle or a full bottle of wine because we've had a tough day. We jump on social media and we start to scroll to try to numb out our day, right? We find we get home and we're reactive with our partner, right? When our nervous system is actually living in tension. And again, we come home and they don't change the toilet roll and we make it our problem. Right? We have to understand that the state of our nervous system is going to determine how you speak to your partner when you get home and how you speak to yourself, right? The animal that we might become in this state might look something like a hyena, as mentioned, a seagull, a lion, a meerkat. It also could be something that reminds you of something that's quite scattered, aloof, stressed out, whatever that looks like to you. Mine is a hyena, right? And it's really, really important to understand that. But the most important thing here, from what I just discussed, is that we have to understand that if we're living in a chronic state of stress, as in shoulders up around the ears, fight, flight, or into freeze, unfortunately, our body is not going to be able to heal, okay? So we are on the path of inflammation, which then leads to sickness, which then leads to dis-ease if we don't regulate our bodies back to safety. Think of your body here like a construction site, okay? Now, we have all of these construction workers inside of us that are putting our body back together, okay? They are healing our tissues. They are making sure that we are receiving everything we need to from our food, as in the nutrients and things like that we need to regenerate. They're regulating our breath, right? Making sure that we are belly breathing and nasal breathing. They are also making sure that we are healing our bodies as well, and that will create an external effect, right? They're working on our digestion, making sure that everything is moving and flowing and we're getting all of the toxicity and the armor out through a regular digestive system. We're also going to have a regular cycle if we are female, and we're not going to experience pain or anything like that if we are cycling and moving through our bleed. Now, if we cue our body into a state of fight flight or cue our body into freeze, these construction workers inside our body, they put down their tools, right? And they go to smoko because there's no need for any of that. You are in an emergency state, okay? They put down their tools and they go to smoko until you cue your body back to safety, okay? And what does safety look like, right? What does our green zone look like, okay? The words you speak to yourself here in your green zone is, I am enough. I accept myself as I am, right? I'm curious, not critical, right? We can be creative here. We see gratitude, we see love, we can be compassionate to ourselves when things show up. That's what I spoke about at the beginning, right? None of that can happen if your nervous system is in a state of tension or collapsed, okay? It just can't happen. Again, it's a very, very simple concept to understand. If your body is closed, right, you are not going to be able to see from a place of love. Very, very simple, right? The world you see in a state of ventral will once again be kind and compassionate and curious and playful and exciting and open, gentle. All of those things. It will be like blissful or joyful to some degree. Even when things are shit and it's hard and difficult, you'll still be able to see through that and go, things are just difficult at the moment, but you trust here. This is the only place in your nervous system where you can trust, okay? Otherwise, you're going to fall into jealousy or judgment or resentment or doubt, okay? The animal that you might become here, again, I mentioned my dog. I think of her and it relaxes me. You might think of like something like a dolphin or like even a whale, a gentle sea creature. Again, it could be an eagle where you just, again, it's putting this all into play. Again, what does your body look like? What does it sound like? And what does it feel like when you move into these states, right? It's so, so interesting, and I'm going to leave that at this for this conversation. These tools about your landscape, your autonomic landscape, about the words we speak, the thoughts we have, and then what that creates inside our bodies as to how that presents outside is a beautiful, beautiful benchmark or a blueprint for you understanding your body better. If we don't have these tools and things show up in our body, right, again, for many of us, especially if we are Westerners, we're going to look for a quick fix, right? We wake up tired, for example, and we have 2 shots of coffee, okay? We have a knee issue, right? And instead of actually looking at what's going on, we support our foot and we wrap up our knee instead of asking why. We have lower back pain and we just take a tablet, right? We have a bloated belly, right? And we judge it, we get frustrated with it instead of asking why, right? A bloated belly is a sign of tension that you have moved into a stressed state, okay? Remember, digestive system not working properly, right? Our breath moves into our chest and we don't even think anything of it, right? All of these things are asking us to look inward, and that's all I hope to leave you with is a different way to see your body. This tool that we have, this body of ours, is craving our attention. It is here to help you. The things that show up in your body are beautiful gifts, right? From your nervous system, your body and your brain to say, hey, I'm trying to talk to you. Please tune in and listen. And I'm going to say one more thing here. If you can say thank you to the things that show up, the bloated belly, the skin breakout, the upset gut, the upset tummy, the swollen eye, the skin rash, this muscular soreness, the ability not to sleep, all of these things, if you can say thank you to that, look at what the energy of thank you does. Remember, every thought carries an emotion. And that's what's really important, okay? If you can say thank you to what's showing up, as in thank you, bloated belly, what are you trying to tell me? How can I help you? What do you need? As opposed to, excuse my French, but fuck you, I'm so angry with this. I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to not eat all day because my belly's bloated. Guess what the two of them do? One creates an open flow for your body, again, for your body to heal. You stay in a regulated state and you witness what's going on and you give your body the ability to pause and rest and do what's needed and necessary for your body to heal, as opposed to judging it, criticizing it, getting angry with it, getting frustrated with it. And it's only going to make it worse. It's only going to cause more chaos in your internal landscape, which of course will have a knock-on effect outside. The words we speak become the house we live in. Each of the words that we speak to ourselves, behind a thought, there is emotion. Now, if the emotion causes your body to close, you have to understand that that's actually what's going on inside. So I really encourage you to tune in to when you experience something going on in your body, that you meet it with compassion. It's like a little kid or an animal coming to you in pain. There is no way that you would judge them, no way you would get angry with them, no way that you would tell them that what they're experiencing is, something wrong with them. But we say that to ourselves. And I really encourage you to meet yourself like you would with an animal or a small child. When they're coming to you in pain, to say, okay, hey, how can I help you? Thank you for showing up. What is it that you need? If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the polyvagal theory and how it has helped me really get to know my body from the inside out, and to meet my body with compassion so that it can heal and I also see a different world, right? We dive into the triune brain and the teachings of Dr. Daniel Siegel in his book Mindsight as to what happens with our brain when we shift gears into our spinal sympathetic nervous system or our freeze state, right? And I also share what we can do to help regulate our bodies back to safety, okay? So in this video, it was just a short one to help you understand the concept of the polyvagal theory, the concept of neuroception, nervous system awareness, and co-regulation and how that can help. Hopefully you've been able to write down what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like in your body, what animal you turn into each of those 3 states. If you'd like to know more, just jump over to my website, megsspace.com.au, or over to my Instagram page, move_like_water, and jump onto my next nervous system reset course. They are unfolding every couple of months online, and is a really nice deep dive and a very simple way to understand your body from the inside out. I hope this has helped. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I hope that you can see your body from a space of compassion, kindness, acceptance, and love, because why not?